Are you stressed for time for your projects and you need a quick and easy project to amplify your costume for your next Ren or medieval fair that you're going to? I have the thing just for you. We are going to today make pouches, like belt pouches to put on your belt at the Ren Fair that you can gather little trinkets and things that you find and buy throughout the day. And we're going to make these in two different ways. So you have two different options. These are so easy to make that I hope you make one for yourself so that you can gather your shiny little stones and keep them safe tucked away in your pocket. And you don't have to show your boyfriend or husband that you gathered more rocks. I have a few options for fabric here. We have just an old canvas bag. I have some suede. You can of course use leather. And then I have some vinyl pleather from the dollar store, which may or may not be big enough. I think these will be big enough for one of the projects. So we are going to use these things just so we can see how different mediums or fabrics, how different things can turn into bags, and then you don't have to feel like you have to go out and buy expensive leather if you do not have the budget for that. And then you can use other things. Another great resource for leather, if you are looking for leather, is if you go to like a store that has off-cut fabrics. We have a store called Lens Mills, and they're really good because they have these bins that are just full of like off-cut leather scraps and stuff. And you can go to one of these stores and just pick through it and find like some off-cut leather or whatever and use that to make your bags as well. So you don't need to go out to Tandy or something and buy like a bunch of leather, which can get quite pricey. So you can cut back your expenses by doing that. So the first bag that we are going to be making, or that I'm going to be making, but you can make it along with me as well, so therefore we can be making, is just a simple bag. We're going to use some of this synthetic leather from the dollar store. This at the time, a couple of years ago, was $2. With inflation, I have no idea how much it costs right now. But all we're going to do is draw a pattern on here, one of these sheets, and then we're going to sew around the edges and then put ties in the top and cinch it up. That is basically it. So I think this is going to be easy. So we're going to think positively. This will be, it'll be easy for me and it'll be easy for you. Okay. And we are going to trace around what we cut out. And if you want to make a bunch of these, you could do this on paper, so then you're doing the same thing over and over again. Okay, and then we are going to cut this one out. Cool. Now we have two pieces that, when sewn together, will make a somewhat pouch-shaped thing. Now we're gonna take and cut around this edge, removing most of that seam allowance. Ooh, and then we have a pouch. Cool. I've also decided, because this shape is pretty, or size is pretty good, that I'm going to make a pattern, which is what I should have done in the first place. But here we are. Cool. I'm going to use this suede that I have to make another pouch. Trace around, so one side has the where you should be sewing, so you know where to sew. The easiest way. And then you'll cut out around a little bit more, like seam allowance. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough. Then we are gonna take this one over and we are gonna sew it together. So I had a bit of an oopsie when I was sewing up the suede because it was stretching as it went around. So something just to be aware of, because it's a stretchy fabric. It was better once I was holding it and stretching it, and I adjusted my tension so it wasn't as tight and changed my stitch length on the top and the bottom. So yeah, I think it's still gonna work. Like it's not a toss project. I have this little weird bump at the bottom, but once I fold that, I think it's going to be fine. So I'm gonna trim this and see if I can salvage this one. And this stuff cuts way better with fabric shears, as was probably expected for anybody but me. Let's see what that looks like. So now we have a fake leather pouch. We have a real leather suede pouch, which does feel so much nicer. So if you can get that, you know, obviously that would be your option. And I do want to try sewing up a canvas one, just because I'm a glutton for punishment for doing the same thing over and over and over again. I'm going to sew this one down. That's going to fray, so you definitely want to sew those edges down. Now we have 3 pouches, and the difference between these two and this one is that the canvas started fraying. So all I did was just roll this over and sew a little seam edge there. Obviously didn't change my thread from what I was doing over here to this. So you can see it on that edge, but that's fine. And yeah, I don't know if it's going to work the same way that I want to cinch these up, because I'm worried that it will fray, but yeah, we're going to do it anyway and see how it looks. And then you could have a little canvas bag. You could also just sew a little flap over top and have this as your little rock gathering bag, or even like a little belt loop on the back. That would also be cute. And I'm rambling, so let's get to the part that I'm procrastinating on. So I ran into some issues when I was first punching the holes into the bags. It turns out you need an even number of holes on either side so that you can go in and out of the bag and in and out of the bag. Otherwise, it doesn't really work out. So I ended up having to punch another hole that wasn't evenly spaced, but you don't really notice it when the bag is all cinched up. To lace the bag up, you want to go in from the outside, through the holes to the other side, around the corner, and back in and out to the other side. And then do the same thing with the second lace, but from the opposite side. And then you can tie knots on the ends of your laces and then trim off any excess. I had some issues with the canvas bag because when I punched the holes ended up fraying, similarly to the top of the bag when I had cut the fabric out. So I ended up just using a bit of glue on the holes in hopes that it would prevent it from fraying. I separated the rope I wanted to use into smaller sections. And then, because they were also fraying, decided to glue the ends just a little bit to keep the rope together. And that worked really well. It was, however, a little bit more finicky to lace this one up. I can't believe this one actually worked. I think something to consider when you're using fabric like this is that it might fray on you, and then you might want to take care of unfinished seams. And when you do have the holes in there and you punch them, that they might have a tendency to fray, and then you might want to like protect those a little bit. You could also just do like a buttonhole, and then so the edge is finished on the holes. I ended up just adding a bit of glue, and that seems to have helped prevent the fraying. And then I used this rope, which I also glued the ends on it a bit so I could actually get it through, but it's like a little almost nautical version of the pouches, which I think is kind of cute, and gives a different look to it. So I really like it. I like that one. It's cute. Look at it. Aww. The second kind of bag I'm going to show you how to make is like this. Basically, this bag is a round piece of fabric or suede, and it's got a bunch of holes cut in it, and then you thread through some string or whatever you want, and then you pull it up. That is all it is. Super easy. You can put rivets in it like I did with this one if you really want to protect your edges. You don't have to. You can make this super cheap, so you don't have to do that. And then you don't need any extra kind of pieces of stuff to do that. If you have leather working things and you want to do that, you can. This creates a great surface to roll dice on here for D&D as well. So you could have this as your dice pouch and then roll your dice on here, or you can store some fancy crystals and things in there. My husband wants one of these since I'm making more. So I'm going to show you how to make this one, and yeah, then you have another option. The biggest thing for these is to be aware that the size of your circle really like affects how big your pouch is. Like this one is a tiny little bag, and when I made these, I had no idea. I made this one first thinking that this circle would be big enough. And when I was finished, I was like, oh, she's small. And you can see on this one, I didn't finish it at all. I just left the holes. So, and then, you know, you cinch that up and you got a little coin bag. So we're gonna make one of these. I feel like, let's make one sort of in between size, in between these two. So I just a smaller one. And I believe for these as well, you need an even amount of holes. And then you just cut your circle as big as you want it to be. To draw a circle, I basically measured the diameter that I wanted and found the center point from 2 lines, and then continued to draw lines of the same length through that center point. You can also find a plate and just go and circle around the plate, you know, with your thing. You just need something that's round, that's like the diameter that you want, and then you can just trace that. Just far easier than what I just did. Oops. I connected all the lines I made to make a circle and cut out the circle. The diameter of this bag is going to be 10.5 inches. The other bags I had made previously were around 9 inches and 12 inches in diameter, just in case you were curious. Now what we want to do is make our marks for our holes. And you, like I said, we want 16 holes. We're gonna go on either side of here. I think I found this was like the hardest part, to have these like equidistant. To mark where the holes are gonna be, I used the lines that I had used to draw my circle and just found the ends of them, and then marked in about 1/2 inch equidistant on either side of those lines, and then found the center point in between a few of those, and then did that again, marked in about 1/2 inch on either side, and they were about 2 inches apart. And for all of the sizes of these circle bags that I made, there are 16 holes in each one. And then I punched them out. And we're back. Some of these didn't punch all the way through, so I'm just gonna go remove them. Now we are going to have enough thread that this will go around. To lace up this bag, you just want to go in and out of the holes basically until you come out the other side, and then you just pull it together to cinch it up. It's pretty easy. Which is awesome because we love easy. Ta-da! You have another pouch, and you can take this and you can wrap it around, and then you get that cool like wrapped look at the top, and then you can tie it on your belt, and then you can walk around the Ren Faire like you old school medieval age person, and you made a pouch, because that's how they used to make them. It was just like a round piece of fabric that they put holes in and put something in it to hold it together. That's it. Super easy. And now we have all of these pouches that you can use to make your Ren Faire costume, medieval fair costume, cosplay look so cool. So we have these easy sewn pouches. Just make sure you have even holes on either side. That is key. In suede, in a fake leather, and even in a canvas. And then we have, of course, this one you can do in the other fabrics as well. We have the super easy circle pouch, and all you need is something round to trace around Keep in mind the diameter will change the size of your pouch quite a bit. So, you know, if you don't want it too small, make sure that the circle looks way bigger than you think it should be for your pouch, okay? I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you try this out for yourself. And if you're interested in seeing more projects for Ren Faire costumes or medieval fair costumes, fantasy items, then subscribe so you don't miss out. Till next time, bye.